in this series, and actually I get to finish it today, on redemption. And we have been working through the book of Ruth. And so today, I'm in chapter 4. However, the events of Ruth chapter 4 really begin at the end of chapter 3. Ruth has come to the threshing floor. And I know Craig talked about this last week. I wasn't here with you, but I was with you. I was praying for you guys. And she has fully submitted herself to Boaz, if you remember. I hope you've read through chapter 4 before you got here today. If you didn't, you honestly probably could do in the next 30 seconds. It's like not that long. But she has placed all of her wants for her future, her desires at his feet. And she is kind of like, I am in submission, Boaz, to whatever you want. Truly, she just wants his heart. Truly. She wanted an intimate relationship with him. She didn't care about money. She didn't care about prestige or status. She just had just purity of heart that was just whatever you want. I'm submitting to you. And because of this, Boaz was able to receive her fully. He stirs out of his sleep only to find a woman laying at his feet. Okay, you guys just like picture this, okay? Don't just let me say it, see it. And he's like, wait, what's happening here? And Ruth's like, calm yourself, it's fine. I'm Ruth, remember? I'm the one that was like out gleaning among the sheaves. You remember the whole bringing in the sheaves, all that. And she's like, take me under your protection, is what she says. You're my next of kin. This was a thing. Okay, this sounds kind of strange to us, but this was a thing. Back in the day, this was what was, okay? Boaz got it. When she said, take me under your protection, I'm your next of kin, he's like, oh, okay, I see what's happening here. Basically, it's totally cool that you snuck into my room while I was sleeping, laid at my feet, uncovered my feet from the blanket, which was probably okay because my feet were kind of hot. I had a little too much wine at dinner. Then you creepily stared at me until I woke up. And then I'm like, what is happening here? And you're like, hey, you should marry me because you're my next of kin. Totally normal. Verse 10, he says, may you be blessed by the Lord, my daughter. You have acted even more faithfully than you did at the first, when they first met. You haven't gone after rich or poor or young men. And my daughter, don't be afraid. I'll do for you everything you're asking. Whoa! Indeed, my people who are all at the gate will know you're a woman of worth. He's like, Ruth, what the heck? Whereas most would grow cold in interest towards someone over time, you have not done that. You've actually increased in your devotion, and you've made this bold move right now, right here. You've upped your commitment. You're like, I want all of this. You're inconvenienced. It's the middle of the night. You're sold out, and you're devoted to your request. That's pretty impressive. This is a prophetic picture that we can relate to. As we learned the last few weeks, Boaz actually represents the Lord in our lives. And the longer we're with Jesus, there is a tendency to grow cold in our affection towards him. To risk apathy or disinterest or just casually approach the presence of God. And with no great love or passion. I don't know if you've ever bought your kids like seasoned passes to a theme park. Well, we have, and when our kids were little, we did that a couple different times, different theme parks and whatnot. And at the beginning, boy, were they excited. They were like, you are the best ever! And they were so excited, and we're going to SeaWorld, or we're going here, or we're going there. And we'd all we would go, and it was so exciting. Best day ever. After a few times, we're going to SeaWorld again? I'm like, do you know how many kids would love to go to SeaWorld? Or whatever park that is. But it kind of grew cold. It got complacent, like the same old, same old. And sometimes that can happen with our relationship with Jesus, but it's not the way it should, and it certainly wasn't what we experienced this morning in worship. As your hunger came through for the presence of God. It's not the way it should be. It should be growing, loving more, giving more, sacrificing more. There is a meme that's been going around, and it's a few different things. I'm going to get them to pop it up on the screen here. And see the one plant in the corner? And then more. And there's like all these plants. Well, in our neighborhood, there is a family that loves to decorate, okay? And it's not plants, but at Christmas, we witnessed this, okay? There was like one little thing out, and then the next day there was a couple more things, and a couple more things. And we can, don't judge us for being creepy, but we can actually see their house like from like one of our windows. So we would watch them as they would put up more, and we were like, we're familiar with this meme, and it's like more, to the point you could not see the house. I kid you not. It's not even a very big house, but it was like covered. Well, that's how we should be with Jesus. More. Because of Ruth's surrender and vulnerability to the will of Boaz, he was able to receive her and grant what she asked. It wasn't even a question. He was happy. It brought him a lot of pleasure to do this. But then he adds something, like additional information that was kind of like not great. He says, I really want to make this happen, and I really want to grant your request, but I'm actually not your next of kin. And she was like, oh, dang. There's another guy ahead of me, and I got to talk to him because I'm a man of integrity, and I want to do it right. If I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it right. So he's like, hold on a minute. Let me figure this out. Have you ever been there where you know something's God's will, but there's like a journey to get there? There's like steps, and sometimes it feels like hoops that you have to jump through to get you. But you know the end of the line. You know it's God's will. And you just want to like jump over and be there, but you got to go through the proper channels. You'll get there. But if you're going to get there, you want to get there the right way and do it well. Well, that was Boaz. He wanted to get there, but he didn't want to sacrifice his integrity to do it. I mean, we have to live with it, right? So it's fine because you arrive a little later at your destination where you want to be, but doing things well far outweighs arriving fast and then carrying the heavy baggage that shortcut costs you. So here they are. Boaz presses pause. But like why? What's the deal here? Like, I feel like in order to fully understand that, we need to understand the concept of the kinsman redeemer, the next of kin, which is talking about. So what does that even mean? Why is it such a big deal? So in Israel, the concept of family or clan, loyalty, protection was very honored. It was like the highest of honored. And it was a manifestation of the very life and character of God with his people. Okay? So the land of Israel didn't actually belong to the people. It belonged to God. And when he divided the promised land to the people in the days of Moses, he did it with this stipulation. Leviticus 25:23 said, the land should not be sold permanently, for the land is mine, which is God's. You are foreigners and temporary residents with me. So in all the country that you possess, you are to provide for the redemption of the land in the year of Jubilee. Okay. So land was not sold, as we understand it. It was kind of like leased, okay, if that helps. Individual property could be sold for a time if financial pressure dictated that. Like a drastic action, someone was like really hard up and they had to sell in order to make it. But every 50th year, which is the year of Jubilee, fun fact, we got a car for free many, many years ago, and then we put a Jubilee sticker on it because that's awesome. The land was returned to its rightful owner in the year of Jubilee. So to make sure there was the blessing in the families, God established the principle of the kinsman redeemer. So if due to extreme financial hardship, you had to sell your land, then the value was based on the years until Jubilee and how useful the land was or how much the land would earn. So during this time, if a family, like, I can't keep up with the land, I'm in a bad state, I have to sell it. A kinsman could purchase the land on behalf of their relatives, or if the family recovered at any time, they could buy the land back. The same was true if people sold themselves into slavery due to poverty. If the first kinsman was unable to buy it back, or didn't want to, down the line it went next in line. But that redeemer had to have 3 specific qualities in order to redeem. 1, they had to have the right. They had to be the closest. 2, they had to have the readiness, a willingness to step in and I'm doing this. And 3, they had to have the resources. They had to have the finances to complete the transaction. So this is quite the thing. It's quite the little situation they have worked out here. So this morning after comes, okay? Ruth went home. She had been there all night. She uncovered his feet, did the thing. Boaz is like, I'm not actually the guy. There's another guy. Let me work it out. And she goes home to Naomi, her mother-in-law, and Boaz goes to the gate of the city, because at the gate of the city, that's where all the legal transactions happen. So the men would gather at the gate, and they'd like talk business, and they'd work it out, and then they would do things like with their shoe, they'd take it off and give it to people, and it's just like, this was normal, okay? So Boaz actually, though, sent Ruth home with 6 measures of barley. Ruth 3:15. He says, give me the shawl you're wearing and hold it out. She's like, okay. So she holds it out, and he measures 6 measures of barley, and he puts it on her. And then she went into the city. Then she went home, and her mother-in-law said, how did it go? Because remember, Naomi had actually sent her to the threshing floor. Ruth told her everything the man had done for her, and she said, and he gave me 6 measures of barley, because he said, don't go back to your mother-in-law empty-handed. Naomi's like, sit down. Wait, my daughter, until you learn how this matter will turn out. For the man will not rest until he settled it today. Interesting. How did Naomi know this? Did she was there like a background check on Boaz? Did she have him followed? Like what? Like how does she know that he will not settle until this matter? It seems like this is the type of thing, like moms know everything. It kind of seems like that type of situation. I don't think it was. I think it was a little more than that. But it's like where you're just like, as a kid, you're like, I think she knows. And I mean, I experienced that. I feel like I know everything. I don't know how I know. I just know. It just happens. It's like moms know everything. But it seems like that's what's happening here. However, it was deeper. Boaz gave 6 measures of barley. And he said, do not go back to your mother-in-law empty-handed. Ruth was like, great, took it at face value. This is awesome. Very nice man. Gosh, he's feeding us, and it's going to be a nice treat for Naomi, but it was more. And I feel like Naomi decoded the secret message. She read between the lines. She heard what he didn't say, but instead what he showed. It was like when your husband or wife gives you the look and you just know what it is. Have you ever been in a situation where you need out of something and you just kind of look and they know exactly, I need to save them right now. They're in a situation they need to get out or whatever it might be. You just know. It's just like a look. She saw it. So it looked like Boaz was being super nice and sending food home. But the number 6 meant more. 6 was the number that represented man. He said, don't go home to your mother-in-law empty-handed. I feel like it was more about the message than the food, but the food represented the message. It was not about don't go home with no food, but more about don't go home without knowing that I deeply care about your requests, and I'm working on it. I, the future man in your life, the hope to be kinsman redeemer for you and your family line, am giving you 6 measures, the measure of man, the number of man, 6 measures to speak of what I'm believing for. This was a prophetic act. He could have gave her 5. He could have gave her 7. He gave her 6 to represent I, the future man, what you have asked me for. I'm giving you 6 measures of barley. So this is the hope that you hang on to while you wait for your answer. Those 6 measures of barley is the longing and for your heart to be fulfilled, to have a man in your life, to have provision for your future. Do not go home empty-handed. I'm working on it. See, something to hold on to while you wait is a beautiful thing. I know many of you have experienced like a prophetic word or seed money where you're believing for financial breakthrough and you don't have it all, but maybe you've got something that you could sow in. Maybe a picture. You're spending time with Jesus and he just kind of gives you a picture in your mind of something that you can hold on to, hope. Or someone walks up to you and says, I just want to encourage you today. And they say something that they shouldn't know about, but encourage you. Or they pray for you for a certain situation in your life and you feel uplifted. It's something to hold on to while we wait because we don't know how long we're going to wait. When our daughter Faith was born, and many of you know she was born with a very complex heart defect and wasn't expected to live. She's now almost 17 and is amazing, right? But back when she was first born and we didn't know if she would have another 24 hours, God gave us a verse of 1 Corinthians 2:5. It said, your faith does not rest on the wisdom of man, but on the power of God. That hope gave us holding power. That's what I'm talking about. So this was the 6th measure of barley. It was a prophetic act, something to hold on to. I'm working on it. It holds you as you hold it. So Boaz, as promised, he went to the gates. He's like, I'm going to do some business. So he found the next of kin guy, happened to be there, gathered 10 more men, and they're going to talk this out. So he explains what's happening. He says, hey, there's land that needs to be purchased on behalf of Naomi's family. You remember Naomi, she's back from Moab. And, you know, she's had tragedy in her life, and her husband died, and her sons died. And if it's yours. If you want it, it's yours. And this guy's like, heck yeah, I want it. That's awesome. Like, it's like a jackpot. Like, he just totally scored. It's worth a ton. The price is cheap. It's like walking up to the clearance rack and your favorite thing is like on it. You're like, wow, I love popcorn, and it's on the clearance rack. You know, it's like that. Boaz was like, hold up, though. There's just like a little thing that I just didn't say. It comes with a person. He's like, it's like a twofer. Well, actually a threefer because the mother-in-law is involved too. Okay, so if this isn't something to make everyone run, you get a wife and a mother-in-law all in one, just like that. But you get the land, so, well, he's like, you know, Ruth has to be redeemed so she can have children and her husband's legacy can continue. But it's all yours, man. It's all yours. Have it. Well, Naomi's land was available. He was right. And he did have the right to purchase this guy. And he was very interested in the property. It seems likely how this happened was Elimelech, Naomi's husband, maybe before he left during the famine, sold the land before moving to Moab. So Naomi was invoking that law of the kinsman redeemer. So this is kind of what was happening here. It was a very smart plan. And generally speaking, this guy was right. It would have been a very, very good financial move for him because he could just take it. He could, you know, marry. Naomi was old and far beyond childbearing years. She's not going to have any more kids. So basically, this kinsman redeemer could keep the land in his family line. So, like, this was like a steal of a deal until Ruth. So he's like, you know, I don't think so. I think this is a hard pass for me. Like, it was good until you mentioned, you know, all the ladies. But, you know what? You take it. It's fine. It was the game changer. The closer kinsman redeemer had all the things. Okay? He checked all the boxes. He was next in line. You know, he had the money, all those things. But he didn't want it. He was like a pretend redeemer. It was like fake news. He wanted it until he realized it would cost him something. It was selfishness. It was self-centered living, all factored in this moment. But Boaz was different. Boaz knew from the start what it would cost him, and he was all in. This is such a beautiful picture of Jesus. Such a beautiful picture of Jesus. Jesus knew what he was getting into, but he still wanted all of us and held nothing back to give us everything with no promises of anything in return. Come on. So here we are. We made it to the end, chapter 4. And it's all about Ruth's bold ask and Boaz's sure answer. Ruth asked. She asked this question. She put herself at his feet. She said, take me under your protection. See, when we want things and need things in life, we need to go bold before God. It's one of those things that if we're honest, we kind of struggle with, because it's that confidence that will he answer my prayers? Like, I know he can, but I just don't know if he will. He's definitely able, but will it actually happen? And we want to believe for it, but in the middle of our problem, we sometimes do everything except bring it to him. We talk to people and we come up with a game plan. We fret or complain about it, or we stress about it, and we have all these issues that surround our problem, when really we should just bring it to Jesus and say, you know what? This is huge. I'm believing for the healing, for the miracle, for the breakthrough, for the provision. I'm just going to go out there and ask. And I'm going to risk, disappointment or discouragement or any of those things, but I'm just going to go and ask you for the miracle. This was Ruth. She was a regular person. She wasn't anything more than us. In fact, she was a stranger, a foreigner in the land. So how is it that we, as we come in relationship with Jesus, sometimes still struggle with those asking? And why is it that sometimes life just doesn't go well, even though we are the children of God? And why are our prayers sometimes not answered the way we hoped? These are real questions. So why? James 4 kind of sheds a little bit of light on it. He says, you do not have what you want because you don't ask God for it. And even when you ask, you don't get it because your motives are wrong. You want only what will give you pleasure. So, number one, we just don't ask. That's one reason we don't get what we need in our lives. We just don't ask. Simple, but happens all the time. A Christian with a deficient prayer life is like a stock car without gas. It looks really good, but it doesn't have what's necessary to fulfill its purpose. Prayer isn't what we do before the work. It is the work. It's difficult to have a sustained prayer life. It is. That's why most people don't. Some of it's laziness, yeah, but I don't know that it's all that. I think some of it is that that feeling that we can't measure up to the next person. It's like, gosh, look at them. They're such a good prayer, and they're just like amazing. And I don't think I could do that. So it's like we're frozen to do nothing because we feel like we can't be as good. It's not, you just need to be free in your prayer life. You just need to be free. Smith Wigglesworth used to say he was a powerful revivalist way back in the day that saw so many miracles, crazy miracles. He used to say, I don't know if I've sat and prayed an hour, like continually in my life, but an hour has never gone by that I haven't prayed. It's just about communing with Jesus all the time. So it's not about a checklist of, okay, I got up and from 6 to 7 I prayed or what. It's just about wanting to want it, wanting to be there, wanting to commune with him, and letting go of all the legalism and the ritualistics that we put on ourselves or we feel from other people when they're not actually putting it on us. What's the best way for you to connect with God? Think about it. Because maybe it's like this morning in a worship set where you're just like, that's where I feel God the most. Maybe it's hiking, right? Maybe it's sitting at a coffee shop with just some headphones in or something where you're just like going on walks, sitting at the beach. You need to do you and connect with him, to ask for things of him, but sometimes just to sit with him, because he knows what we need before we even ask also. But how easy is it to give those bold requests when we're already just there laying at his feet? And he looks at us and says, what's happening here? I just have this going on right now. Yes, I say yes. The second thing is we ask all wrong. Sometimes we don't ask, and sometimes we ask all wrong. Ruth made a bold ask, but the motives were good. Her motives were good. But sometimes we're selfish, and sometimes it's just kind of, we're ambitious to our own wants rather than the things of God. And we think it lines up to what he wants, but really it was just kind of something in us that we wanted, because Proverbs 16:2 says, all the ways of man are clean in his own sight, but the Lord weighs the motives. So you may think your intentions are right, but really God knows that's not quite right. It's like going and praying for someone to be healed and seeing them healed. That's a good thing, right? But if the motive is, so I have this spectacular thing work through me, you see where it's off? So our motives matter. To correct ourselves on the inside is not an easy thing. It's going to take some Jesus time. It's going to take some laying at his feet. But it's worth it, and it will happen. Jesus says, if you abide in me and my words abide in you, ask for whatever you wish, and it will be done. Key point. If you abide in me and I abide in you. That phrase, will be done for you, means to become or cause to exist. So, it gives a sense that if I have it, it's yours. Like Boaz is like, yes, I want to grant your request. Yes, but wait, I don't actually have it yet because I'm not the next of kin. But what this verse says, but if he has it, it's yours. But if it's not, I will create it for you. In the original language, that's what it means. Isn't that interesting? And Boaz is like, but let me go work on it. So if he has it, it's yours. But if it's not yet been created, he will create it and give it to you because you abide in him. If you abide in him and he abides in you, he will give whatever you ask. And if he doesn't have it, he will create it to give to you. Whew. Wow. So if you're praying for something that doesn't exist yet, that's okay. Because he's at work creating it to give it to you. Boaz answer. So Ruth's bold ask and Boaz answer. Boaz said yes. He said yes before he even knew he could do it. Yes, this is my intention. Yes, here's the barley. You know, she'll know what that means. Go home. Yes. This was a reflection of his life and just a picture of his generosity as a man of God. That's what it reflected here. A life of generosity. This is Boaz and this is Jesus. How? Well, Boaz was generous in praise. If you read back the other chapters that we kind of already went through, when he used to go to the harvest field, in chapter 2, he would call out to the reapers, his servants, and he'd be like, the Lord be with you. And they would respond all together, the Lord bless you. It's like, he just blessed them. He walked onto his field, and he's like, the Lord be with you. And they're like, bless you. And this was just like a really great guy to work for, right? He was generous in his praise. He was generous. Psalms 34 verse 1 says, I will bless the Lord at all times. His praise shall continually be in my mouth. That should be a picture of our lives. And if it's not there yet, just start with the intention. Like, plan on it, work at it, and over time, before you know it, it will just flow out of you. I wasn't always like this, but now, through the night, I'm just like, I don't even know, but I'm always singing a song. It's like my mind never stops. It literally never stops. So if you see me quiet, I'm not actually quiet. Inside, it's like, whoa. It's like always something happening. So at night when I'm sleeping, if I wake up for a second, which I do many, many seconds of the night, like always awake and asleep and awake and asleep. As soon as I wake, there's a worship song going in my head. I just begin to sing it. I don't know, it don't make it, it just happens. So I wake up singing it in my head. I go to sleep singing in my head as I'm going around like I'm praying. And it's just always happened. But I wasn't born that way. It was intentionality. And then before I realized it, for probably years of intention, it just became natural. Naturally supernatural, which is God's heart for you. It's a beautiful thing. In Ruth 4:11-17, you can read it, but it was a great heart of faith and blessing that rested on the people of God. There was words of life and encouragement spoken over her and Boaz. And the people actually prophesied that Ruth would be like Rachel and Leah, these are the women that come with the 12 tribes of Israel. This is huge for a foreigner. Generosity, in our words, release people into their destiny. Like Ruth literally stepped into the prophetic word as they spoke that over her and then was mentioned in the genealogy of Jesus. Wow. She didn't belong where she was. She was an outsider, but now in the line of the Messiah. See, you rise past appeared potential, societal norms, and what's appropriate when you submit yourself to Jesus. My life is not my own. I am a laid down lover. Whatever you want, I live on the altar. Number 2, he was generous with money. The closer kinsman, he could have done this for Ruth, but because there was no advantage to him long term, he wasn't interested. He thought it would be a loss at the end. Proverbs 11:24 says, "There's one who scatters and yet increases all the more. And there's one who withholds what is justly due and yet results in only in want. The generous man will be prosperous, and he who waters will himself be watered." You think by giving the water away, you're not going to have any water. But the Bible says the more you give away, the more you get. He who withholds grain, the people will curse him, but blessing will be on the head of him who sells it. He who diligently seeks good seeks favor, but who seeks evil, evil will come. It's the sowing and reaping principle. Boaz didn't worry about the money. He gave it all. He was just happy to bless Ruth. He was just happy to have this lady who he met in the field become his new wife. His generosity and taking her on and her cost of living was making room for legacy in his life, really. Really, that's what it was. See, Ruth and Boaz ended up having a child. His name was Obed. He was named by the women in the neighborhood. That's so strange. And it was a prophetic name, though. Obed meant worshiper and servant. Wow. Wow. Did that just not embody both Boaz and Ruth? Roaz. Yes, Roaz. That embodied Roaz. Worshiper and servant. It's a prophetic picture of what life would be like for them. And this is truly a blessing. Children are such a blessing to our lives. They are an inheritance from the Lord. It is so exciting for when children that would carry their heart of worship and their heart of servanthood. Obed, how exciting is this? In the end, if you read through, Obed ministers healing to his family. Why? Because Naomi has a grandchild. She thought her life was over. She is a kinsman redeemer. He redeemed her life and inherited her land, brought on a wife and generations to come. And I don't have any grandkids, but I've heard there's nothing better. I don't know if there's any grandparents in the room, but I've heard this. Our children are the purest form of blessing in our lives as they live out their love for Jesus. It's incredible. So Ruth has a husband and a son. There's great joy. She started out in a place of a stranger to Israel, to the congregation of the Lord. God pulled on her. She took a risk. She was faithful. She did the hard things. She worked for it. She trusted the people in her life. And she moved into full reward. Redemption complete. There was no way for her to know back when she started that her life would turn out this way. She made these decisions not knowing. It might work. It might not work. I don't know. You don't know until you get there, right? Because it's a faith walk, not a sidewalk. See, it's easy to see the end when the end is here. It's difficult when it's a blank screen, an empty page, just a repeat playing of the past, the old ways, past seasons, broken dreams. When Boaz held Ruth and Naomi's future in his hands and he gave the 6 measures of barley, this was hope. This was to look at, to hold on to as comfort and to eat. It was nourishment in the waiting. Sometimes we just need nourishment in the waiting for our full reward. And I don't know what situation you're finding yourself in today. Maybe it's a huge step of faith that you're stepping out in. Maybe it's something in your life that you just really need an answer for. You could be praying for a while, or maybe it just happened, or maybe tomorrow. I'm not speaking this out, but we know we only have this moment. So maybe tomorrow something could change. And you're going to need God to step in on your behalf. What are you holding on to while you wait? Because coming to us is our full reward, our redemption. But what do we hold on to as we wait? Let's stand. I want to ask 3 questions before I close, and then I'd like to pray for you. What do you need to hold today in order to have hope? What are you holding that's leaving no space for hope? Sometimes our hands are so full of stuff that we can't hold on to the thing that God wants to give us. Sometimes we just got to lay something down in order to pick something up. So what are you holding that's leaving no room for hope? And what can you let go of to make that room today? Let me pray for you. Father, I thank you for every dear person in this room right now. I thank you that their heart today in worship just came through so strong as they poured out their love and adoration towards you. I thank you for hungry people. I thank you for worshipers and servants in the house of the Lord. I pray right now for everyone that they've been waiting for a long time, and they're ready for that redemption, and they're ready for that full reward, and they're ready for the breakthrough in their life. I pray right now that you would show them the hope that you have given while they wait. That you would reveal to them what it is that they can hang on to. Maybe it's a picture right now of hope. Maybe it's someone's going to talk to them in a few minutes and encourage them. Maybe it's a friend that's just going to give a text message that they needed to hear. But I pray right now for everyone that they would be open to receive hope today. The hope that has the holding power as we wait for our full reward in you. God, make us courageous. Make us bold in our ask of you. And may our answer always be yes to you. We just love you. Just tell him you love him this morning. We love you, Jesus. We love you, we love you, we love you. And it's truly, truly our joy to live as laid down lovers for you. In Jesus' name, amen.